A very warm good morning to all. This is Dr. Kavita Kanchkatla. So today I am here to explain about that what are the remaining chapters which were present in that paper air pollution and control technologies. Here I am going to share my screen. Yes. Yes, this is all about that last class, yesterday's class. In that yesterday's class, we discussed about that Unit 15, automobile pollution and Indian scenario. Automobile pollution, Indian scenario, topic name is that. And then coming to that overview, the automobile pollution is one of the major environmental concern in India with a rapid urbanization, increasing vehicular density, and the poor enforcement of emission norms. The country is facing a severe air quality deterioration, especially in metropolitan cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Kolkata. And the key contributors to the automobile pollution is rising vehicle numbers. Especially India has over 30 million registered vehicles, with millions more add annually. The outdated vehicles, older vehicles emits significantly the older vehicles emit significantly higher level of pollutants compared to the newer emission of compliant and models. And that fuel quality through India has adopted BS6 emission norms. Many vehicles still use a pure quality of fuel, leading to the excess emissions. A traffic cognitions, a slow moving traffic, and the frequent idling of increasing of a fuel consumption, and that emissions. Lack of public transport infrastructure, dependence on a private vehicle is high due to the inadequate public transport facilities. The next one is the major pollutants from vehicles. Carbon monoxide, reduce oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. Nitrogen oxides causes respiratory diseases, and acid rains. A particulate matter leading leads to the lung and heart diseases, and sulfur dioxide contribute smog and acid rains. A volatile organic compound causes a good level ozone and that smog formations and all. Then coming to the last one, impact on health and environment. Respiratory diseases, the high level of vehicular pollution contribute to asthma, bronchitis, and lung infections. The climate change, increased in greenhouse gas emissions, accelerate a global warming, reduced visibility among cities like Delhi, often experience a severe smog affecting a daily life and transport, soil and water contamination, fuel and oil leaks from vehicle pollute water bodies and soil. The government incentives of the pollution, Bharat State BS emission standards, BS6 norms implemented in 2020 significantly reduced the sulfur content in fuel. The promotion of electric vehicles under the FAME 2 scheme, um, subsidies and incentives encourage the EV adoptions. Odd even scheme, temporary measure like Delhi, temporary measures like Delhi, odd even rule aim to cut the vehicular emissions. Scrappage policy encourage a phasing out old and polluting the vehicles. Expansion of metro and public transport. Efforts to reduce the reliance on private vehicles and all. Then coming to the sixth point, challenges and the future outlook. A slow EV adoption, the high cost and the lack of charging infrastructure hinder mass adoption. Enforcement of laws, weak implementation of emission norms allow a many polluting vehicles to operate. A public awareness. Many people are unaware of the importance using cleaner fuel and maintaining vehicles properly. Next one, a possible solution, encouraging the public transport and that non-motorized transport, cycling and walking, increasing investment in electric vehicle infrastructures, a strict implementation of emission norms and regular vehicle checks, expanding green fuel, alternative like compressed natural gas, hydrogen and biofuels, urban planning with suitable, with a sustainable transport and strategies. Conclusion, automobile pollution in India remains a serious issue, but with its policies, a technological advancement, and public participation, the situation can be improved. A combined effort from the government, industry, and citizens is essential for cleaner air and healthier environment. Then coming to that next one, Unit 16, automobile emission control and legal measures. With rising pollution levels due to the vehicular emissions, India has implemented several legal measures to control and reduce the automobile pollutions. This means focus on stricter emission standards, fuel quality regulations, vehicle scrappage policies, and the promotion of the cleaner technology. Bharat Stage emission standards. India follows a Bharat Stage emission norms similar to Europe standards to the regulate the vehicle emissions. BS1 implemented in the year 2000 introduced the basic emission norms. BS2 2005 strict emits on the carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons, and BS3 2010 introduced the nationwide reducing sulfur content in fuel. uh, BS4 2017 further tighten the emission limits and that nationwide adoption, and BS6 2020 skipped BS5 and directly moved to BS6, reducing that sulfur content, fuel from that fuel from 50 ppm to 10 ppm. Introduced onboard diagnostics for real-time emission monitoring. Strict limits on that NOx, PM, and carbon monoxide emissions for both petrol and the diesel vehicles. Next one is the Motor Vehicle Act 1988, amended in 2019. The Motor Vehicle Act MVA 1988 and its amended are the primary laws regulating vehicular pollution in India. Compulsory pollution under control certificate. Every vehicle must undergo a periodic emission testing and obtain a valid pollution under control certificate. Right? Fine. Fines for non-compliance increased under the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act 2019. A vehicle scrappage policy phase out vehicles older than 15 years, government vehicles, and 20 years aims to remove the old, highly polluting, highly polluting vehicles from roads. The heavy penalties for violation: 10,000 fine for using unauthorized vehicles in pollution control zones, strict penalties for tampering with the emission control device. Next one is the Central Motor Vehicle Rule, CMVR 1989. The CMVR under the CMVR 1989 under the MVA Motor Vehicular Act lays down the emission regulations for automobiles, mandates installation of catalytic converters in petrol vehicles, require vehicles to meet specified emissions limits before registrations, introduced OBD systems for a better emission monitoring. Next one is the National Green Tribunal Orders, NGT orders. The NGT has played a crucial role in reducing the vehicular pollution through the various directives, a ban on diesel vehicles older than 10 years in Delhi, restriction on petrol vehicles older than 15 years in certain high pollution cities, strict action and leaning overloaded vehicles to reduce the unnecessary emissions, the electric vehicle promotions FAME 2 scheme. The government has introduced the faster adoption and manufacturing of a hybrid and electric vehicle scheme to promote the electric mobility, provide subsidies for electric two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and buses. The encouraging, uh, where I am, the encouraging the development of charging stations across the India. Sixth one is the fuel quality regulations. The low sulfur fuel, BS6 fuel contain only a 10 ppm sulfur, reducing particulate emissions, compressed natural gas and liquid petroleum gas promotions. The compressed natural gas and liquid petroleum gas are encouraged for public transport. State-specific measures implemented in Delhi during the severe pollution episodes restrict vehicle usage based on odd even number plates to reduce traffic emissions. Conclusion. India has implemented various legal measures to control vehicular pollutions, a strict enforcement adoption of electric vehicles, and regular emission checks are key to reducing air pollution and ensuring the sustainable mobility. Coming to the next topic, bar stage emission standards in India. Introduced bar stage emissions norms are vehicle emission standards by the Indian government regulate air pollutants from internal combustion engine vehicles. These norms are based on European Euro emission standards and aim to reduce the air pollution from the automobiles. The norms limited release of pollutants such as carbon monoxide, harmful to human health, nitrogen oxide, causes the smog and acid rain, a particulate matter, 2.5 to 10, causes a respiratory diseases, hydrocarbons and volatile organic compounds contribute to a ground level ozone and smog. These are the bars emission standards and these are the implementation year. Implementation year and what are the key features of this one? Hmm. Here one more important point is there. Why India skipped that BS5 norms and directly moved to the BS6 in April 2020 to control of air pollution for air pollution more effectively. And these are the key features. Next one is the Motor Vehicle Act 1988. The objectives of the Motor Vehicle Act 1988 regulate the motor vehicle operation in Indian roads, improve the road safety and reduce the accident, set emission norms to control the vehicle pollution, provide for compulsory insurance for the motor vehicles, established penalties for traffic violations and ensure the strict enforcement. These are the key provisions. These are the key provisions of a act, vehicle regulations and licensing, mandatory vehicle licensing, a mandatory vehicle registration, driver licensing, fitness certificate for commercial vehicles, emission control and pollution norms, the pollution under control PUC certificates, ban on polluting vehicles. These are the traffic penalties. These are the before 2019 and these are the after 2019. The penalty will be increased. These are the list of the violation of the rules and all. Hit and run compensation increased, license suspension for the repeated offenders, road safety and accident preventions, goods and law are protected as standards who help the accidents victims, from the legal and procedural harassment, higher liability for vehicle manufacturers. If a vehicle defeated cause and an accident, the manufacturer is held responsible. Stricter rule for the juvenile orders. If a minor is catched driving, a vehicle owner, parents, and guardians faces 25,000 fine, and the minor is banned for that obtaining that license until 25 years old. The vehicle scrappage policy phase out of old vehicles. A vehicle is older than 20 years and 15 years must undergo a fitness test. Unfit vehicles are uh, deregistered and the scrapped to reduce the pollutions. A recent amended digital incentives, contactless license registration services, digital services for license renewal, vehicle registrations, and insurance verification, FASTag for to all, FASTag for toll collection, mandatory for all four wheelers to reduce the congestions, e-challan system. Traffic fines are now digitally issued for better enforcement and all. The importance for that Motor Vehicle Act 1988 improves the road safety and reduce the accidents, control of vehicular pollutions and enforce emissions norms, protective citizens rights through the insurance and comprehension provisions, encourage digitalization for smoother and transport operations and all. The next one is the conclusion. The Motor Vehicle Act 1988, along um, with the 2019 amendments, has strengthened a road safety emission control and the traffic regulations in India. However, the effective implementation and the public awareness are a key to making Indian roads safer and the pollution free. This is all about the today's class I revised. Then coming to the today's topic, now we are going to enter on the block 5. In that block 5, we are going to discuss about the air pollutions from the specific industries. These are the main topic which is including in the block 5. Uh, air pollution, air pollution from the specific industries varies depending on the process, materials used, emissions generated below are the key industries contributing to air pollution along with their major pollutants, energy sectors, power plants and refineries. Source, a coal-fired power plants, oil refineries and the natural gas plants. These are the one of the uh, industry which can release the pollutants into the atmosphere. What are the pollutants from the coal-fired power plants is the sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, carbon dioxide, mercury, volatile organic compounds and all. Next one is manufacturing the heavy in manufacturing and heavy industry. Source, steel mills, cement factories, chemical plants, glass production. Pollutants which are released from this mainly are carbon monoxide, sulfur compounds, nitrogen compounds, particulate matters, dioxins, benzenes, and heavy metals. Then coming to that next one, a transportation industry. Sources. What are the sources of the transportation industry means? Automobile trucks, ships, aeroplanes. The pollutant, carbon dioxide, nitrogen compounds, particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, hydrocarbons, and black carbons. And coming to that fourth one, agriculture and livestock farming. What are the sources here means? Pesticides, use fertilizers, livestock, waste dumping crop industries. What are the pollutants from this agricultural and livestock farming is a methane, CH4, and ammonia, NH3, particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, and nitrogen oxides. Mining and the quarrying industry. Next one is the mining and quarrying industry. So, in that mining and quarrying industry, the sources are extraction and processing of minerals, not a producing, it is a processing, extraction and processing of minerals, coal mining, drilling operations. What are the pollutants which are released? Particulate matter, heavy metals, lead, mercury, methane, carbon and sulfur compounds. Construction industry, the sources, demol demolitions, cement mixing, road constructions, dust from material, and that pollutants, particulate matter, nitrogen compounds, sulfur compounds, carbon asbestos in older structures. Then coming to that next one, a waste management and incinerations, right? Source, landfill, waste incinerations, sewage treatment plants, the pollutants, dioxins, fronts, methane, volatile organic compounds, nitrogen compounds, and the heavy metals. The next one is the textile and that leather industry. What are the sources? Means dyeing, tanning, chemical treatment of fabric, and that leather. Pollutants, volatile organic compounds, formaldehyde, ammonia, and particulate matter. Electronics and the conductors manufacturing. The source, chip fabrication, a battery production, a board assembly, pollutants, hydrofluoric acid, sulfuric acid, the heavy metals and volatile organic compounds. Then coming to that, what are the health and environmental effects? So what are the health risk means? Respiratory diseases, asthma and bronchitis, cardiovascular problems, cancers, and the neurological disorders. The environmental impact means acid rain, smog, global warming, ozone layer depletion, and that water contamination. So these are the health and environmental effects. Then what are the solutions and what are the regulations? The emission control, installing scrubbers, electrostatic precipitators, a catalytic converters, and that sustainable practices, renewable energy, a green building materials, a low emission vehicles, a regulatory measures, the Environmental Protection Agency guidelines, a Clean Air Act, the international climate agreements and all. Then coming to that next unit 17. Right. Okay. The thermal power plants and that air pollution. The thermal power plants and that air pollution. The thermal power plants generated electricity by burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, or using nuclear energy. Coal-fired power plants are the most polluting, contributing significantly to air pollution and that climate change. Major air pollutants from the thermal power plants. A particulate matter includes particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10, which are the tiny solid particles suspended in the air and causes respiratory diseases, heart problems, and environmental damage. Next one is sulfur dioxide, SO2, result from the burning coal and that oil with a high sulfur content leads to acid rain, which damages crops, forests, and that aquatic ecosystems. Nitrogen oxides are produced during a high temperature combustions, contributes a smog, acid rain, and that respiratory illness and all. Then coming to the fourth one, carbon dioxide, CO2. The primary greenhouse gases, GHG, responsible for the global warming. The thermal power plants are among the largest source of a carbon emissions. Mercury and heavy metals. The coal combustions release air mercury, lead, and an arsenic into the air. These toxins accumulate in the food chain and cause a neurological disorders. A volatile organic compounds released from a incomplete combustion of fuel contributes ozone formation and air toxicity. Environmental and health impacts. What are the health risk? What are the health risk means increased the causes of asthma, lung disease, heart attacks, and the strokes. Explore to the heavy metals can cause a neurological and the development issues. Environmental damage, acid rain, sulfur, and nitrogen compounds mix with water vapor, smog formation, nitrogen compounds, and volatile organic compounds react with the sunlight to create a ground level ozone, water and a soil contamination. Fly ash and the bottom ash residues contain toxins and all. Climate change. High carbon dioxide emissions contribute to a global temperature rise. Melting glaciers, a rising sea level, and extreme weather patterns are linked to fossil fuel power generations. The pollution control measures, the technological solution. Electrostatic precipitators remove a particulate matter, fuel gas desulfurization, reduce sulfur emissions, a low nitrogen compound burners, a limit to the nitrogen oxide formations, carbon capture and the storage, capture CO2 before the release. That is the good one. Next one, alternative energy sources, transmitting of a renewable energy, solar, wind, and the hydro reduces dependence on the thermal power. Natural gas emits the fewer pollutants than coal and oil. Policy and regulations, the emission norms as set by the agencies like Environmental Protection Agency and the Central Pollution Control Board, carbon taxes and emission trending to incentivize a cleaner technology. Global effort to reduce the pollution. First one is the Paris Agreement. Nations pledge to reduce the CO2 emissions. Renewable energy goals, and many countries are shifting to green energy. Retrofitting and upgrading plants. Old power plants are being modernized with the cleaner technologies. Conclusions. While thermal power plants play a major role in electricity generations, they are also a major contributors to air pollution and climate change. Implementing a strict regulations, the adopting cleaner technologies and transiting to renewable energy sources can help mitigate their environmental impact. Then coming to that next one, the Unit 18, Air pollution from the cement industry. Right. Air pollution from the cement industry. Cement industry is a major contributor of air pollutions, right? Cement industry is a major contributor to air pollutions due to its energy intensive production process, is responsible for high emissions of particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and carbon dioxide, significantly impacting air quality and the climate change. The major source of air pollution in cement production. The cement production consists of multiple stages, each contributing to pollutions. The raw material processing source, crushing, grinding, and handling of raw materials, a limestone, clay, and clay, pollutants, a large amount of dust, particulate matter, 10 to particulate matter 2.5 are released into the air. Cleaner production, clean process, source, heating, limestone in rotatory kilns at high temperatures, the pollutants, carbon dioxide from limestone decomposition and the fuel combustion, nitrogen compounds from high temperature reactions, and sulfur from sulfur in raw material and the fuels and all. Cement and grinding, cement grinding and packing. Source, a grinding a cleaner into a fine powder and bagging the cement. Particulate dust, particulate matter from the handling and the transport. The major air pollutants, the major air pollutants from the cement plants. First column indicates about that what are the pollutants which are releasing from the cement industry. And second one is the source of the cement industry. And third one is the what are the environmental and health impacts. Polluted, a particulate matter 2.5 to particulate matter 10. The raw material handling, clean and grinding causes a respiratory diseases, smog, lung damage, carbon dioxide, a limestone decomposition, and fuel burning, uh, major greenhouse gas contributing to the climate change. Sulfur dioxide, burning fuel with sulfur content, leads to acid rain and respiratory issues. The nitrogen oxides, high temperature combustion kilns, uh, environmental and health impact are forms as smog, acid rain, ozone layer depletion and all. Then heavy metals, Hg, Pb and Cd, uh, present in the raw materials and the fuels causes a neurological disorders and the soil contaminations. What are the environmental health impacts? The health risk, respiratory diseases, asthma, bronchitis, lung cancer, cardiovascular problems due to a fine particulate pollution. Yes, neurological disorders from heavy metal explosion. Neurological disorders are the heavy metal explosion. Then coming to the next one, the environmental impact, a global warming, cement industry contributes 8% of global carbon dioxide emissions. Acid rains, sulfur and nitrogen compounds are react with the atmospheric moisture. Smog formations volatile compounds contribute to air pollution, water and soil contamination from cement, dust, and that heavy metals. The pollution control measures in cement plants, dust and particulate matter control. The electrostatic precipitations capture fine dust. Baghouse filters remove the particulate matter from exhausted gases. Water sprays uh, suppress the dust at material handling points. Nitrogen and sulfur reductions. Low nitrogen burners optimize fuel combustion to a lower emissions. Selective catalytic reductions convert NOx into a nitrogen and water. Limestone scrubbing, asbestos, SO2 emissions, carbon emission reductions, the alternative fuels are causing a waste derived fuel instead of coal. Carbon capture and that storage, CCS, means carbon capture and storage, capture of carbon dioxide before it enters into atmosphere. Infrastructure subsidies using fly ash, slag, and pozzolans to reduce the CO2 from the limestone. The sustainable alternative in the cement industry, green cement. What is the green cement? Means producing the cement with less clinker content, renewable energy source using the solar, wind, or the waste heat recovery system, a circular economy, recycling industrial byproducts like steel, slag, and the fly ash, regulatory measures, and the global efforts, the emission standards. The government impose limits on sulfur and nitrogen and particulate matter emissions, carbon trading and taxes, policies to reduce the CO2 emissions, net zero goals, complaints, adopting a cleaner technologies to meet a climate targets and all. Then coming to that conclusion, the entire cement industry is a major air polluter, but adopting advanced pollution control technologies, alternative fuels, and the sustainable practices can significantly reduces its environmental impact. Regulations and that innovation will play a crucial role in making cement production cleaner. This is all about that cement industry. Just I want to represent the what are the. This is about the cement industry, where that cement industry is located, how that air pollutions can be released and all. This picture is not clear, but I mentioned this is the up to somewhere safe. This is a dangerous air pollutant due to the cement industry. This is a between this one and this is the moderate. Blue is the safe zone. Green is the environmentally safe zone. These are the thermal power stations. These are the thermal power stations which are present around our India. From top to bottom, first in Bihar, it gives the 5 gigawatts, and the second one is located in Odisha. 20, it gives the power up to 28 gigawatts. Next one, Chhattisgarh, also having a one thermal power station that also give the production of 28 gigawatts. Next to Andhra Pradesh, Kadapa region, Produturu, near Produturu, Rayalaseema Thermal Power Project. It gives 229 gigawatts. Then coming to that next one, Karnataka, it contribute to 36 gigawatts. Then in Tamil Nadu, 77 gigawatts. And in Kerala, it is also 3 gigawatts. And the next one in Maharashtra thermal power point, it gives 115 gigawatts. And in Gujarat, it gives the 182 gigawatts. And coming to that Rajasthan, it is also give the 53, mm, 53 gigawatts. When compared to the how many stations are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. These are the 10 important thermal power stations which are present around the India. Okay. Mm, in this all the things, what are the power station which is present all over the India? Andhra Pradesh in Produturu. Produttur, Kadapa region. Produttur, Kadapa region. Rayalaseema Thermal Power Project. What is this? A Rayalaseema Thermal Power Project. So, in Produturu, Kadapa region, Rayalaseema Thermal Power Project, it's a contribute to the 229 gigawatts. So this is the a major it give the major participation in the thermal power plants. This is the big one. When coming to that next place was occupied by that Gujarat thermal power plants. It gives the 182 gigawatts, and third one is that 115 with Maharashtra thermal power plants, and that after 115, then third one is that 77 Tamil Nadu, 53 Rajasthan, mm, 36 Karnataka, 28 Odisha, and the least one is the 5 giga. The, the least one is the ninth one, only 3 gigawatts from Kerala. From last to first, first one is that Kerala and second one is that Bihar. This is all about that what are the thermal power stations which are present throughout the India and how it contributes to the energy. Okay. Then coming to that next one. Block 5, air pollution from a specific industries. Air pollution from a specific industries uh, varies depending on the process, materials used, and emissions generated. Blow are key industries contributing to the air pollution along with their major pollutants. Energy sector, power plants and refineries. Source, coal-fired power plants, oil refineries, natural gas plants. The pollutants, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, a particulate matter, carbon dioxide, mercury, volatile organic compounds. The manufacturing and heavy industry, the source, steel, mills, cement factories, and chemical plants, glass production, carbon monoxide, sulfur, and nitrogen compounds, the particulate matter dioxins, benzenes, heavy metals, transportation industry, source, automobiles, trucks, trips, aeroplanes, the pollutants, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, particulate matter, a volatile organic compounds, hydrocarbons, and a black carbon, agriculture and livestock farming. Next one is that agriculture and livestock farming. Source, pesticide uses, pesticides, fertilizers, livestock waste, burning, crop residues, pollutants, methane, CH4, ammonia, NH3, particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, and nitrogen compounds. Mining and carrying, extraction and the processing of minerals, coal mining, drilling operations, the pollutants, the particulate matter, heavy metal, and that methane, carbons and sulfur compounds, construction industry. The sources are demolition, cement mixing, road constructions, dust from materials, pollutants, particulate matter, nitrogen compounds, sulfur compounds, carbon compounds, asbestos in older structures, the waste management and incinerations, sources, landfills, waste incinerators, sewage treatment plants, the pollutants, dioxins, furans, and the methane, the volatile organic compounds and the nitrogen compounds, and along with the heavy metals. A textile and a leather industry, sources, dyeing, tanning, chemical treatment of fabrics and leather. Pollutants, the volatile organic compounds, formaldehyde, ammonia, and particulate matter. Electrons, electronics, and semiconductors manufacturing. The sources, a cheap fabrication, a battery production circuit board assemble, hydrofluoric acid, sulfuric acid, heavy metals, lead, cadmium, volatile organic compounds, and etc. Health and environmental effects. The health risk, respiratory diseases, cardiovascular problems, cancers, and neurological disorders. Environmental impact, acid rain, smog, global warming, ozone layer depletion, water contaminations. Solutions and regulations, emission control, installing scrubbers, electrostatic respirators, catalytic converters, a suitable uh, practices, renewable energy, green building materials, low emission vehicles, regular measures, Environmental Protection Agency EPA guidelines, a Clean Air Act, the international climate agreements and all. Coming to that unit 17, thermal power plants and air pollutions. The thermal power plants generate electricity by burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, or using a nuclear energy, coal, refineries, coal-fired power plants are the most polluting, contributing significantly to air pollutions and the climate change. Major air pollutants from thermal power plants are particulate matter, includes particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10, which are a tiny solid particle suspended in the air, causes a respiratory diseases, heart problems, and environmental damage. Sulfur dioxide result from burning coal and oil with a high sulfur content leads to acid rain, which damage crops, forest, and aquatic ecosystems. The nitrogen oxides. The burning high temperature combustions contributes to smog, acid rain, and respiratory illness. Carbon dioxide, the primary greenhouse gas responsible for the global warming, thermal power plants among the largest source of a carbon dioxide emissions, that mercury, Hg, and that heavy metals, the coal combustion release a mercury, lead, and that arsenic into the air. These toxins accumulate in the food chain and cause the neurological disorders. The volatile organic compounds are released from incomplete combustion of fuels, contribution of ozone formation and air toxicity. Environmental health impacts. What are the health impacts which are including in this one? The health risk, increased case of asthma, lung disease, heart attacks, and that strokes. Exposure to heavy metals can cause neurological and developmental issues. The environmental damage, acid rain, sulfur and nitrogen compounds mix with that water vapor, smog formations, nitrogen compounds and volatile organic compounds react with the sunlight to create a ground level ozone, water and soil contaminations, a fly ash and a bottom ash uh, residues contain toxins. Then water and soil contamination, fly ash and the bottom ash are the okay. The next one is the climate change. The high carbon dioxide emissions contribute to the global temperature rise, melting glaciers, a rising sea level, and extreme weather patterns are linked to fossil fuel power generations. Pollution control measures, the technological solutions, the electrostatic precipitator ESP, remove a particulate matter, a fuel gas desulfurization, reduce the sulfur emissions, the low nitrogen burners, limit the nitrogen oxide formations, the carbon capture and the storage capture CCS, the carbon capture and storage carbon capture of CO2 before release. The alternative energy sources, transfer of renewable energy reduces depends on thermal power. Natural gas emits a power pollutants that coal and oil. Policy and regulations, emission norms are set by an agency like the Environmental Protection Agency and the Central Pollution Control Board, carbon taxes and that emission trading to incentives a cleaner technology and all. Global efforts to reduce pollution, Paris Agreement, national pledge to reduce the carbon emissions and all. Renewable energy goals, many countries are shifting to green energy. Retrofitting and upgrading plants. Older power plants are being modernized with a cleaner technologies. Coming to the conclusion, while the thermal power plants play a major role in electricity generation, they are also a major contributors to air pollutions and the climate change. Implementing strict regulations, adopting cleaner technologies, and transitioning to renewable energy sources can help mitigate their environmental impact. Coming to that unit 18, air pollution from the cement industry. Cement industry is a major contributor of air pollution due to its energy intensive production process. It is responsible for high emission of particulate matter, sulfur dioxides, nitrogen oxides, carbon dioxide, significantly impacting air quality and climate change. The cement industry is a major contributor to air pollutions due to its energy intensive production process. It is responsible for high emission of particulate matter, sulfur dioxides, nitrogen oxides, and carbon dioxides, significantly impacting air quality and climate change. Cement industry is a major contributor of air pollutions due to its energy intensive production process. It is a responsible for the high emission of particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and a carbon dioxide, significantly impacting the air quality and the climate change. I think the definition of this one is it's a, for everyone it is a clear. That's why I read it for two more times. Well, because for easy understanding, for easy grasping. Major source of air pollution in cement in production. Cement production consists of multiple stages, each contributing to pollutions. Yes. Raw material processing. Source, a crushing, grinding, and a handling of a raw materials, limestone, clay, and slate. The pollutants, a large amounts of dust, particulate matter 10 to 2.5 are released into the air. Clinker production, clinker process. Source: heating limestone in rotatory kilns at high temperatures. The pollutants: carbon dioxide from limestone decomposition and fuel combustions, nitrogen compounds from high temperature reactions, sulfur in raw materials and fuels, cement grinding and packing. Sources: grinding into a fine powder, bagging the cement, pollutants, a particulate matter from handling and the transport. What are the major steps which are including in that cement industry means? In that first one is that the raw material processing. Source: crushing, grinding, and handling of raw materials, limestone, clay, and slate. Pollutants: a large amount of dust, particulate matter 10 or 2.5 are released into the air. Clinker production process. Source: heating limestone in rotatory kilns at high temperatures. Pollutants are the carbons from limestone decomposition. Mm, limestone decomposition, a fuel combustion, uh, NOx from the high temperature reactions, SO2 from the sulfur in raw materials and the fuels, the cement grinding and packing, the sources grinding a clinker into a fine powder and bagging the cement, the pollutants, dust from handling and the transport. Then coming to that next one, what are the major air pollutants from the cement plants? First one is the pollutant, second column is the source, and third one is the environmental and health impact. In this tabular form, three columns are mentioned. In the first one, we named as a pollutant, and second one as the source, and third one as a environmental and health impact. Pollutant: a particulate matter 2.5 to 10, raw material handling, kiln grinding, causes a respiratory diseases among a lung damage, carbon dioxide, limestone decomposition, and fuel burning, major greenhouse contributing to climate change, sulfur dioxide, burning fuels with a sulfur content, leads to acid rain, a respiratory issues, nitrogen oxides, the high temperature combustion in kilns, forms a smog, acid rain, a ozone layer depletion, the heavy metals present in raw material and fuels causes a neurological disorders, soil and contamination. Major air pollutants from cement plants, pollutants, a particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10, source, raw material handling, ring grinding, environmental and health impact, causes a respiratory diseases, smog and the lung damage, carbon dioxide, limestone decomposition, and fuel burning, major greenhouse contributing to a climate change, a sulfur dioxide, a burning fuel with sulfur content, leads to acid rain and respiratory issues. Nitrogen oxides, the high temperature combustion links, forms smog, acid rain, and ozone depletion. The heavy metals, Hg and Pb, prevent in raw material and fuels, cause a neurological disorders or the soil contaminations. Then third point, environmental health and impact due to the cement industry. Health risk, respiratory diseases, asthma, bronchitis, and lung cancers. Cardiovascular problems are due to the fine particulate pollutions and neurological disorders from the heavy metal exposure. The environmental impact, global warming. A cement industry contributes 80% of a global CO2 emissions. Acid rain, SO2, sulfur and nitrogen compounds react with the atmospheric moisture, smog formation, NO2 and volatile contribute to air pollution, water and soil contamination from cement industry, and heavy metal industry. Pollution control measures in cement plants, dust and particulate matter control. The electrostatic precipitators capture the fine dust. Baghouse filters remove particulate matter from exhaust gases. Water sprays suppress a dust at that a material handling points. Nitrogen and sulfur reduction. The low nitrogen burners optimize fuel combustion to the lower emissions. A selective catalytic reduction convert nitrogen compounds into water. Limestone scrubbing absorb SO2 emissions. Carbon emission reduction. Alternative fuels using a waste directive fuels, a biomass and that a municipal waste instead of coal. Carbon capture and storage, capturing CO2 before it enters to the atmosphere. Clinker substitutes using fly ash, slag or pozzoles reduce carbon dioxide from limestone. A sustainable alternatives in the cement industry. Green cement are producing cement with a less clinker content. Renewable energy using solar, wind, or the waste heat recovery system. A circulatory economy, recycling industrial byproducts like steel stack and fly ash. Regulatory measures and global efforts. The emission standards the governments impose limits on the sulfur and nitrogen and particulate emissions, the carbon trading and taxes, the policies to reducing the CO2 emissions, net zero goals, complaints adopting a cleaner technology to meet a climate targets. Coming to the conclusion, the cement industry is a major air pollutant, but adopting advanced pollution control technologies, alternative fuels, and that sustainable practices can significantly reduce its environmental impact. Regulations and innovation will play a crucial role in making cement production cleaner. Environmental health impacts. First one is that the first one is the third one, environmental and health impacts. Health risk. Respiratory diseases. Respiratory diseases, asthma, bronchitis, and lung cancer. Cardiovascular problems. Cardiovascular problems due to the fine particulate pollution. Neurological disorders from heavy metal exposure. Environmental impact. Environmental impact. Global warming. Cement industry contributes 8% of global CO2 emissions. Acid rain, SO2 and NOx react with that atmospheric moisture. Smog formation for NOx and volatile organic compounds contribute to air pollution. Water and soil contamination from cement dust and that heavy metals. Next one, pollution control measures. Pollution control measures in cement plants. In that first subheading is dust particulate matter control. Electrostatic precipitators capture the fine dust. Baghouse filters remove the particulate matter from the exhaust gas. Electrostatic precipitators capture the fine dust. Baghouse filters remove the particulate matter from the exhaust gas. Water sprays suppress dust at material handling points. NO2 and SO2 reductions. Low nitrogen burners optimize a fuel combustion to the lower emissions. A selective catalytic reduction converts NOx into the nitrogen and water. A limestone scrubbing. A limestone scrubbing absorbed SO2 emissions. Carbon emission reduction. Carbon emission reduction. Alternative fuel using the waste derived fuels, biomass, and multiple waste instead of coal. A carbon capture and the storage capturing CO2 before it enters into atmosphere. A cleaner substitutes using a fly ash slag or obzones to reduce the CO2 from the limestone. Sustainable alternatives in the cement industry. Green cement producing the cement with a less cleaner content, clinker content. Renewable energy using the solar, wind, and waste heat recovery systems. Circular economy, recycling industrial byproducts like steel, slag, and fly ash. A regulatory measures goal efforts. Regulatory measures and the global efforts. Emission standards, government impose limits on SO2 and sulfur and nitrogen and particulate matter emissions. Carbon trading and taxes are policies to reduce the CO2 emissions. Net zero goals. And net zero goals, companies adopting a cleaner technologies to meet the climate targets. Regulatory measures and the global efforts. Emission standards, the government impose limits on SO2, NO2, and the particulate matter emissions. A carbon trading and taxes policies to reduce the CO2 emissions. Emission standards, government impose impact on sulfur, nitrogen, and particulate emissions. Carbon trading and taxes policy to reduce the CO2 emissions. Net zero goals campaigns adopting the cleaner technologies to meet the climate targets. Conclusion, the cement industry is a major air polluter, but adopting advanced pollution control technologies, the alternative fuels, and that sustainable practices can significantly reduces its environmental impact. Environmental impact. The regulations and innovations will play a crucial role in making cement production cleaner. Cement production cleaner. for making the country is divided into five regions and the few companies dominate across the market. First zone, second zone, third zone, fourth zone, and fifth zone. Our Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, both twin Telugu states, are present in the fifth zone. And Andhra Pradesh, right? This is where the cement production will be high and how it will be there, the pollutants in that. This is the first state, it is a moderate one, and this is the a dangerous one. This is also a moderate one, little bit. This is the safe one. This is the environmentally safe, but the pollutants are that very low in these regions and all. And this is the last graph to explain about that the thermal power stations across the India. Just a minute.